If you're curious about Islam, you need to know about the prophets. In Islam, prophets are special messengers sent by Allah to guide humanity. From Adam, the first prophet, to Muhammad, the final one, each had a unique mission. Think of Noah and the Ark, Abraham and his faith, Moses and the Exodus, and Jesus with his miracles. Each prophet taught us to worship one God and live righteously. But it's Muhammad, the seal of the prophets, who brought the final message, the Quran. His life is a model for Muslims everywhere. So next time you hear about a prophet in Islam, remember they're more than just historical figures. They're spiritual guides for millions. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights. Volume 4, Book 55, number 543, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, Allah created Adam, making him 60 cubits tall. When he created him, he said to him, Go and greet that group of angels and listen to their reply, for it will be your greeting, salutation, and the greeting, salutations of your offspring. So Adam said to the angels, As-salamu alaykum, that is, peace be upon you. The angels said, As-salamu alayka wa rahmatullahi, that is, peace and Allah's mercy be upon you. Thus the angels added to Adam's salutation the expression, Wa rahmatullahi. Any person who will enter paradise will resemble Adam in appearance and figure. People have been decreasing in stature since Adam's creation. Volume 4, Book 55, number 544, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, The first group of people who will enter paradise will be glittering like the full moon, and those who will follow them will glitter like the most brilliant star in the sky. They will not urinate, relieve nature, spit, or have any nasal secretions. Their combs will be of gold, and their sweat will smell like musk. The aloes wood will be used in their centers. Their wives will be houris. All of them will look alike, and will resemble their father Adam, in statute, 60 cubits tall. Volume 4, Book 55, number 545, narrated by Abu Salama. Salama said, Salam said, O Allah's apostle, Allah does not refrain from saying the truth. Is it obligatory for a woman to take a bath after she gets nocturnal discharge? He said, yes, if she notices the water, that is discharge. Salama smiled and said, Does a woman get discharge? Allah's apostle said, Then why does a child resemble its mother? Volume 4, Book 55, number 546, narrated by Anas. When Abdullah bin Salam heard the arrival of the Prophet at Medina, he came to him and said, I am going to ask you about 3 things which nobody knows except a prophet. What is the first portent of the hour? What will be the first meal taken by the people of paradise? Why does a child resemble its father, and why does it resemble its maternal uncle? Allah's apostle said, Gabriel has just now told me of their answers. Abdullah said, He, that is Gabriel, from amongst all the angels, is the enemy of the Jews. Allah's apostle said, The first portent of the hour will be a fire that will bring together the people from the east to the west. The first meal of the people of paradise will be extra lobe, caudate lobe, of fish liver. As for the resemblance of the child to its parents, if a man has sexual intercourse with his wife and gets discharge first, the child will resemble the father, and if the woman gets discharge first, the child will resemble her. On that Abdullah bin Salam said, I testify that you are the apostle of Allah. Abdullah bin Salam further said, O Allah's apostle, the Jews are liars, and if they should come to know about my conversion to Islam before you ask them about me, they would tell a lie about me. The Jews came to Allah's apostle, and Abdullah went inside the house. Allah's apostle asked the Jews, What kind of man is Abdullah bin Salam amongst you? They replied, He is the most learned person amongst us, and the best amongst us, and the son of the best amongst us. Allah's apostle said, What do you think if he embraces Islam? Will you do as he does? The Jews said, May Allah save him from it. Then Abdullah bin Salam came out in front of them saying, I testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and that Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. Thereupon they said, He is the evilest among us, and the son of the evilest amongst us, and continued talking badly of him. Volume 4, Book 55, number 547, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, But for the Israelis, meat would not decay, and but for Eve, wives would never betray their husbands. Volume 4, Book 55, number 548, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, Treat women nicely, for a woman is created from a rib, and the most curved portion of the rib is its upper portion, so, if you should try to straighten it, it will break, but if you leave it as it is, it will remain crooked, so treat women nicely. Volume 4, Book 55, number 549, narrated by Abdullah Allah's apostle, the true and truly inspired said, "As regards your creation, every one of you is collected in the womb of his mother for the first 40 days, and then he becomes a clot for another 40 days, and then a piece of flesh for another 40 days. Then Allah sends an angel to write 4 words. He writes his deeds, time of his death, means of his livelihood, and whether he will be wretched or blessed, in religion. Then the soul is breathed into his body. So a man may do deeds characteristic of the people of the hell fire, so much so, that there is only the distance of a cubit between him and it, and then what has been written, by the angel, surpasses, and so he starts doing deeds characteristic of the people of paradise, and enters paradise. Similarly, a person may do deeds characteristic of the people of paradise, so much so that there is only the distance of a cubit between him and it, and then what has been written, by the angel, surpasses, and he starts doing deeds of the people of the hell fire, and enters the hell fire. Volume 4, Book 55, number 550, narrated by Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said, Allah has appointed an angel in the womb, and the angel says, O Lord, a drop of discharge, that is of semen, O Lord, a clot, O Lord, a piece of flesh. And then if Allah wishes to complete the child's creation, the angel will say, O Lord, a male or a female, O Lord, wretched or blessed in religion, what will his livelihood be? What will his age be? The angel writes all this while the child is in the womb of its mother. Volume 4, Book 55, number 551, narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, Allah will say to that person of the hell fire who will receive the least punishment, if you had everything on the earth, would you give it as a ransom to free yourself, that is, save yourself from this fire? He will say, yes. Then Allah will say, while you were in the backbone of Adam, I asked you much less than this, that is not to worship others besides me, but you insisted on worshipping others besides me. Volume 4, Book 55, number 552, narrated by Abdullah Allah's apostle said, whenever a person is murdered unjustly, there is a share from the burden of the crime on the first son of Adam, for he was the first to start the tradition of murdering. Volume 4, Book 55, number 553, narrated by Ibn Umar. Once Allah's apostle stood amongst the people, glorified and praised Allah as he deserved, and then mentioned the Dajjal, saying, I'll warn you against him, that is the Dajjal, and there was no prophet but warned his nation against him. No doubt Noah warned his nation against him, but I tell you about him something of which no prophet told his nation before me. You should know that he is one-eyed, and Allah is not one-eyed. Volume 4, Book 55, number 554, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, shall I not tell you about the Dajjal, a story of which no prophet told his nation? The Dajjal is one-eyed and will bring with him what will resemble hell and paradise, and what he will call paradise will be actually hell. So I warn you against him, as Noah warned his nation against him. Volume 4, Book 55, number 555, narrated by Abu Sa'id. Allah's apostle said, Noah and his nation will come on the day of resurrection, and Allah will ask Noah, did you convey the message? He will reply, yes, O my Lord. Then Allah will ask Noah's nation, did Noah convey my message to you? They will reply, no, no prophet came to us. Then Allah will ask Noah, who will stand a witness for you? He will reply, Muhammad and his followers will stand witness for me. So I and my followers will stand as witnesses for him, that he conveyed Allah's message. That is, the interpretation of the statement of Allah. Thus, we have made you a just and the best nation that you might be witnesses over mankind. 2.143. Volume 4, Book 55, number 556, narrated by Abu Hurairah. We were in the company of the Prophet at a banquet, and a cooked mutton forearm was set before him, and he used to like it. He ate a morsel of it and said, I will be the chief of all the people on the day of resurrection. Do you know how Allah will gather all the first and the last people in one level place where an observer will be able to see all of them, and they will be able to hear the announcer, and the sun will come near to them. Some people will say, don't you see in what condition you are and the state to which you have reached? Why don't you look for a person who can intercede for you with your Lord? Some people will say, appeal to your father, Adam. They will go to him and say, O Adam, you are the father of all mankind, and Allah created you with his own hands, and ordered the angels to prostrate for you, and made you live in paradise. Will you not intercede for us with your Lord? Don't you see in what miserable state we are, and to what condition we have reached? On that Adam will reply, my Lord is so angry as he has never been before and will never be in the future. Besides, he forbade me to eat from the tree, but I disobeyed him. I am worried about myself. Go to somebody else, go to Noah. They will go to Noah and say, "O Noah, you are the first amongst the messengers of Allah to the people of the earth, and Allah named you a thankful slave. Don't you see in what a miserable state we are and to what condition we have reached? Will you not intercede for us with your Lord?" Noah will reply, "Today my Lord has become so angry as he had never been before and will never be in the future myself. Go to the Prophet, Muhammad. The people will come to me and I will prostrate myself underneath Allah's throne. Then I will be addressed. O Muhammad, raise your head, intercede, for your intercession will be accepted, and ask for anything, for you will be given." Volume 4, Book 55, number 557, narrated by Abdullah, Allah's apostle, recited the following verse in the usual tone, Fahal min Mudalkir, 54.15. Volume 4, Book 55, number 558, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet said, "I have been made victorious with Asaba, that is an easterly wind, and the people of Ad were destroyed by Ad-Dabr, that is a westerly wind." Narrated Abu Sa'id, Ali sent a piece of gold to the Prophet, who distributed it among 4 persons. Al-Aqra bin Habis al-Hanzali from the tribe of Mujashi, Uyayna bin Badr al-Fazari, Zaid at-Ta'i who belonged to the tribe of Bani Naban, and Alqamah bin Ulatha al-Amir who belonged to the tribe of Bani Kalab. So the Quraysh and the Ansar became angry and said, "He, that is the Prophet, gives the chief of Najd and does not give us." The Prophet said, "I give them, so as to attract their hearts to Islam." Then a man with sunken eyes, prominent checks, a raised forehead, a thick beard, and a shaven head came in front of the Prophet, and said, "Be afraid of Allah, O Muhammad." The Prophet said, "Who would obey Allah if I disobeyed him? Is it fair that Allah has trusted all the people of the earth to me while you do not trust me?" Somebody who, I think was Khalid bin al-Walid, requested the Prophet to let him chop that man's head off, but he prevented him. When the man left, the Prophet said, "Among the offspring of this man will be some who will recite the Quran, but the Quran will not reach beyond their throats, that is, they will recite like parrots, and will not understand it nor act on it, and they will renegade from the religion as an arrow goes through the game's body. They will kill the Muslims but will not disturb the idolaters. If I should live up to their time, I will kill them as the people of Ad were killed, that is, I will kill all of them." Volume 4, Book 55, number 559, narrated by Abdullah, I heard the Prophet reciting, Fahal min Mudakir. See Hadith number 557, Volume 4, Book 55, number 560, narrated by Abdullah bin Zama. I heard the Prophet, while referring to the person who had cut the legs of the she-camel of the Prophet Salih, saying, "The man who was appointed for doing this job was a man of honor and power in his nation, like Abu Zama." Volume 4, Book 55, number 561, narrated by Ibn Umar, when Allah's apostle landed at Al-Hijr during the Ghazwa of Tabuk, he ordered his companions not to drink water from its well or reserve water from it. They said, "We have already kneaded the dough with its water and also filled our bags with its water." On that, the Prophet ordered them to throw away the dough and pour out the water. Volume 4, Book 55, number 562, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. The people landed at the land of Thamud called Al-Hijr, along with Allah's apostle, and they took water from its well for drinking and kneading the dough with it as well. When Allah's apostle heard about it, he ordered them to pour out the water they had taken from its wells and feed the camels with the dough, and ordered them to take water from the well whence the she-camel of Prophet Salih used to drink. Volume 4, Book 55, number 563, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. When the Prophet passed by a place called Al-Hijr, he said, "Do not enter the house of those who were unjust to themselves unless you enter weeping, lest you should suffer the same punishment as was inflicted upon them." After that he covered his face with his sheet-cloth while he was on the camel saddle. Volume 4, Book 55, number 564, narrated by Ibn Umar, Allah's apostle, said, "Do not enter the ruined dwellings of those who were unjust to themselves unless you enter weeping, lest you should suffer the same punishment as was inflicted upon them." Volume 4, Book 55, number 565, narrated by Zainab bint Jahsh. That the Prophet once came to her in a state of fear and said, "None has the right to be worshipped but Allah. Woe unto the Arabs from a danger that has come near. An opening has been made in the wall of Gog and Magog like this. making a circle with his thumb and index finger. Zainab bint Jahsh said, "O Allah's apostle, shall we be destroyed even though there are pious persons among us?" He said, "Yes, when the evil person will increase." Volume 4, Book 55, number 566, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "Allah has made an opening in the wall of the Gog and Magog, people like this, and he made with his hand, with the help of his fingers." Volume 4, Book 55, number 567, narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. The Prophet said, Allah will say on the day of resurrection, "O Adam." Adam will reply, "Labaik wa sadaik," and all the good is in your hand. Allah will say, "Bring out the people of the fire." Adam will say, "O Allah, how many are the people of the fire?" Allah will reply, "From every 1,000 take out 999. At that time children will become hoary-headed, every pregnant female will have a miscarriage, and one will see mankind as drunken, yet they will not be drunken, but dreadful will be the wrath of Allah." The companions of the Prophet asked, "O Allah's apostle, who is that accepted one?" He said, "Rejoice with glad tidings. 1 person will be from you, and 1,000 will be from Gog and Magog." The Prophet further said, "By him in whose hands my life is, hope that you will be 1/4 of the people of paradise." We shouted, "Allahu Akbar." He added, "I hope that you will be 1/3 of the people of paradise." We shouted, "Allahu Akbar." He said, "I hope that you will be half of the people of paradise." We shouted, "Allahu Akbar." He further said, "You, Muslims, compared with non-Muslims, are like a black hair in the skin of a white ox, or like a white hair in the skin of a black ox. Your number is very small as compared with theirs." Volume 4, Book 55, number 568, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet said, "You will be gathered, on the day of judgment, barefooted, naked, and not circumcised." He then recited, "As we began the first creation we shall repeat it, a promise we have undertaken, truly we shall do it." 21.104. He added, "The first to be dressed on the day of resurrection will be Abraham, and some of my companions will be taken towards the left side, that is to the hell fire, and I will say, 'My companions, my companions.' It will be said, 'They renegade from Islam after you left them.' Then I will say, as the pious slave of Allah, that is Jesus, said, 'And I was a witness over them while I dwelt amongst them. When you took me up you were the watcher over them, and you are a witness to all things. If you punish them, they are your slaves, and if you forgive them, verily you, only you are the Almighty, the All-Wise." 5.120-121. Volume 4, Book 55, number 569, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "On the day of resurrection, Abraham will meet his father Azar, whose face will be dark and covered with dust. The Prophet Abraham will say to him, 'Didn't I tell you not to disobey me?' His father will reply, 'Today I will not disobey you.' Abraham will say, 'O Lord, you promised me not to disgrace me on the day of resurrection, and what will be more disgraceful to me than cursing and dishonoring my father?' Then Allah will say to him, 'I have forbidden paradise for the disbelievers.' Then he will be addressed, 'O Abraham, look, what is underneath your feet?' He will look, and there he will see a dab, an animal, blood-stained, which will be caught by the legs and thrown in the hell fire." Volume 4, Book 55, number 570, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet entered the Kaaba and found in it the pictures of Prophet Abraham and Mary. On that he said, "What is the matter with them? That is Quraysh. They have already heard that angels do not enter a house in which there are pictures, yet this is the picture of Abraham, and why is he depicted as practicing divination by arrows?" Volume 4, Book 55, number 571, narrated by Ibn Abbas. When the Prophet saw pictures in the Kaaba, he did not enter it till he ordered them to be erased. When he saw the pictures of Abraham and Ishmael carrying the arrows of divination, he said, "May Allah curse them," that is the Quraysh. By Allah, neither Abraham nor Ishmael practiced divination by arrows. Volume 4, Book 55, number 572, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The people said, "O Allah's apostle, who is the most honorable amongst the people, in Allah's sight?" He said, "The most righteous amongst them." They said, "We do not ask you about this." He said, "Then Joseph, Allah's prophet, the son of Allah's prophet, the son of Allah's prophet, the son of Allah's Khalil, that is Abraham." They said, "We do not want to ask about this." He said, "Then you want to ask about the descent of the Arabs. Those who were the best in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance will be the best in Islam, provided they comprehend the religious knowledge." Volume 4, Book 55, number 573, narrated by Samura Allah's apostle said, "Two persons came to me at night, in dream, and took me along with them. We passed by a tall man who was so tall that I was not able to see his head, and that person was Abraham." Volume 4, Book 55, number 574, narrated by Mujahid. That when the people mentioned before Ibn Abbas that the Dajjal would have the word kafir, that is unbeliever, or the letters kafir, the root of the Arabic verb disbelieve, written on his forehead, I heard Ibn Abbas saying, "I did not hear this, but the Prophet said, if you want to see Abraham then look at your companion, that is the Prophet, but Moses was a curly-haired brown man who used to ride a red camel, the reins of which was made of fires of date palms, as if I were now looking down a valley." Volume 4, Book 55, number 575, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, Abraham did his circumcision with an adze at the age of 80. Volume 4, Book 55, number 576, narrated by Abu Az-Zinad, as above in Hadith number 575, with an adze. Volume 4, Book 55, number 577, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, Abraham did not tell a lie except on 3 occasions. Volume 4, Book 55, number 578, narrated by Abu Huraira. Abraham did not tell a lie except on 3 occasions, twice for the sake of Allah when he said, I am sick, and he said, I have not done this but, the big idol has done it. The third was, that while Abraham and Sarah his wife were going on a journey, they passed by the territory of a tyrant. Someone said to the tyrant, this man, that is Abraham, is accompanied by a very charming lady. So, he sent for Abraham and asked him about Sarah, saying, Who is this lady? Abraham said, She is my sister. Abraham went to Sarah and said, O Sarah, there are no believers on the surface of the earth except you and I. This man asked me about you and I have told him that you are my sister, so don't contradict my statement. The tyrant then called Sarah, and when she went to him he tried to take hold of her with his hand, but his hand got stiff and he was confounded. He asked Sarah, Pray to Allah for me and I shall not harm you. So Sarah asked Allah to cure him and he got cured. He tried to take hold of her for the second time, but his hand got as stiff as or stiffer than before and was more confounded. He again requested Sarah, Pray to Allah for me and I will not harm you. Sarah asked Allah again and he became all right. He then called one of his guards, who had brought her, and said, You have not brought me a human being but have brought me a devil. The tyrant then gave Hajar as a girl servant to Sarah. Sarah came back to Abraham while he was praying. Abraham, gesturing with his hand, asked, What has happened? She replied, Allah has spoiled the evil plot of the infidel, or immoral person, and gave me Hajar for service. Abu Huraira then addressed his listeners saying, That Hajar was your mother, O Bani Ma'isama, that is the Arabs, the descendants of Ishmael, Hajar's son. Volume 4, Book 55, number 579, narrated by Sharik Allah's apostle ordered that the salamander should be killed and said, It, that is the salamander, blew the fire on Abraham. Volume 4, Book 55, number 580, narrated by Abdullah. When the verse, It is those who believe and do not confuse their belief with wrong, that is, joining others in worship with Allah, 6.83, was revealed, we said, O Allah's apostle, who is there amongst us who has not done wrong to himself? He replied, It is not as you say, for wrong in the verse, and do not confuse their belief with wrong means shirk, that is joining others in worship with Allah. Haven't you heard Luqman saying to his son, O my son, join not others in worship with Allah, verily joining others in worship with Allah is a great wrong indeed. 31.13, Volume 4, Book 55, number 581, narrated by Abu Huraira. One day some meat was given to the Prophet and he said, On the day of resurrection Allah will gather all the first and the last people in one plain, and the voice of the announcer will reach all of them, and one will be able to see them all, and the sun will come closer to them. The narrator then mentioned the narration of intercession. The people will go to Abraham and say, You are Allah's prophet and his Khalil on the earth. Will you intercede for us with your Lord? Abraham will then remember his lies and say, Myself, go to Moses. Volume 4, Book 55, number 582, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet said, May Allah bestow his mercy on the mother of Ishmael. Had she not hastened to fill her waterskin with water from the Zamzam well? Zamzam would have been a stream flowing on the surface of the earth. Ibn Abbas further added, the prophet, Abraham brought Ishmael and his mother to Mecca, and she was suckling Ishmael and she had a water skin with her. Volume 4, Book 55, number 583, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The first lady to use a girdle was the mother of Ishmael. She used a girdle so that she might hide her tracks from Sarah. Abraham brought her and her son Ishmael while she was suckling him to a place near the Kaaba under a tree on the spot of Zamzam at the highest place in the mosque. During those days there was nobody in Mecca, nor was there any water, so he made them sit over there and placed near them a leather bag containing some dates, and a small water skin containing some water, and set out homeward. Ishmael's mother followed him, saying, "O Abraham, where are you going, leaving us in this valley where there is no person whose company we may enjoy, nor is there anything to enjoy?" She repeated that to him many times, but he did not look back at her. Then she asked him, "Has Allah ordered you to do so?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Then he will not neglect us," and returned while Abraham proceeded onwards, and on reaching the Thaniya where they could not see him, he faced the Kaaba, and raising both hands, invoked Allah saying the following prayers, "O our Lord, I have made some of my offspring dwell in a valley without cultivation, by your sacred house, Kaaba at Mecca, in order, O our Lord, that they may offer prayer perfectly, so fill some hearts among men with love towards them, and O Allah, provide them with fruits, so that they may give thanks." 14.37. Ishmael's mother went on suckling Ishmael and drinking from the water she had. When the water in the water skin had all been used up, she became thirsty, and her child also became thirsty. She started looking at him, that is Ishmael, tossing in agony. She left him, for she could not endure looking at him, and found that the mountain of Safa was the nearest mountain to her on that land. She stood on it, and started looking at the valley keenly so that she might see somebody, but she could not see anybody. Then she descended from Safa, and when she reached the valley, she tucked up her robe and ran in the valley like a person in distress and trouble, till she crossed the valley and reached the Marwa mountain where she stood and started looking, expecting to see somebody, but she could not see anybody. She repeated that, running between Safa and Marwa, 7 times. The Prophet said, "This is the source of the tradition of the walking of people between them, that is Safa and Marwa." When she reached the Marwa, for the last time, she heard a voice and she asked herself to be quiet and listened attentively. She heard the voice again and said, "Oh, whoever you may be, you have made me hear your voice. Have you got something to help me?" And behold, she saw an angel at the place of Zamzam, digging the earth with his heel, or his wing, till water flowed from that place. She started to make something like a basin around it, using her hand in this way, and started filling her water skin with water with her hands, and the water was flowing out, after she had scooped some of it. The Prophet added, "May Allah bestow mercy on Ishmael's mother. Had she let the Zamzam flow without trying to control it, or had she not scooped from that water, to fill her water skin, Zamzam would have been a stream flowing on the surface of the earth." The Prophet further added, "Then she drank water and suckled her child. The angel said to her, 'Don't be afraid of being neglected, for this is the house of Allah which will be built by this boy and his father, and Allah never neglects his people.'" The house, that is Kaaba, at that time was on a high place resembling a hillock, and when torrents came they flowed to its right and left. She lived in that way till some people from the tribe of Juram or a family from Juram passed by her and her child, as they, that is the Juram people, were coming through the way of Qada. They landed in the lower part of Mecca, where they saw a bird that had the habit of flying around water and not leaving it. They said, "This bird must be flying around water, though we know that there is no water in this valley." They sent 1 or 2 messengers who discovered the source of water, and returned to inform them of the water. So, they all came, towards the water. The Prophet added, Ishmael's mother was sitting near the water. They asked her, "Do you allow us to stay with you?" She replied, "Yes, but you will have no right to possess the water." They agreed to that. The Prophet further said, Ishmael's mother was pleased with the whole situation as she used to love to enjoy the company of the people, so they settled there, and later on they sent for their families who came and settled with them so that some families became permanent residents there. The child, that is Ishmael, grew up and learnt Arabic from them, and his virtues caused them to love and admire him as he grew up, and when he reached the age of puberty, they made him marry a woman from amongst them. After Ishmael's mother had died, Abraham came after Ishmael's marriage in order to see his family that he had left before, but he did not find Ishmael there. When he asked Ishmael's wife about him, she replied, "He has gone in search of our livelihood." Then he asked her about their way of living and their condition, and she replied, "We are living in misery, we are living in hardship and destitution," complaining to him. He said, "When your husband returns, convey my salutation to him and tell him to change the threshold of the gate of his house." When Ishmael came, he seemed to have felt something unusual, so he asked his wife, "Has anyone visited you?" She replied, "Yes, an old man of so-and-so description came and asked me about you, and I informed him, and he asked about our state of living, and I told him that we were living in a hardship and poverty." On that Ishmael said, "Did he advise you anything?" She replied, "Yes, he told me to convey his salutation to you and to tell you to change the threshold of your gate." Ishmael said, "It was my father, and he has ordered me to divorce you. Go back to your family." So Ishmael divorced her and married another woman from amongst them, that is Joram. Then Abraham stayed away from them for a period as long as Allah wished, and called on them again, but did not find Ishmael. So he came to Ishmael's wife and asked her about Ishmael. She said, "He has gone in search of our livelihood." Abraham asked her, "How are you getting on?" Asking her about their sustenance and living, she replied, "We are prosperous and well off, that is, we have everything in abundance." Then she thanked Allah. Abraham said, "What kind of food do you eat?" She said, "Meat." He said, "What do you drink?" She said, "Water." He said, "O Allah, bless their meat and water." The Prophet added, "At that time they did not have grain, and if they had grain, he would have also invoked Allah to bless it." The Prophet added, "If somebody has only these two things as his sustenance, his health and disposition will be badly affected, unless he lives in Mecca." The Prophet added, "Then Abraham said Ishmael's wife, when your husband comes, give my regards to him, and tell him that he should keep firm the threshold of his gate." When Ishmael came back, he asked his wife, "Did anyone call on you?" She replied, "Yes, a good-looking old man came to me." So she praised him and added, "He asked about you and I informed him, and he asked about our livelihood, and I told him that we were in a good condition." Ishmael asked her, "Did he give you any piece of advice?" She said, "Yes, he told me to give his regards to you, and ordered that you should keep firm the threshold of your gate." On that Ishmael said, "It was my father, and you are the threshold of the gate. He has ordered me to keep you with me." Then Abraham stayed away from them for a period as long as Allah wished, and called on them afterwards. He saw Ishmael under a tree near Zamzam, sharpening his arrows. When he saw Abraham, he rose up to welcome him, and they greeted each other as a father does with his son, or a son does with his father. Abraham said, "O Ishmael, Allah has given me an order." Ishmael said, "Do what your Lord has ordered you to do." Abraham asked, "Will you help me?" Ishmael said, "I will help you." Abraham said, "Allah has ordered me to build a house here, pointing to a hillock higher than the land surrounding it." The Prophet added, "Then they raised the foundations of the house, the Kaaba." Ishmael brought the stones and Abraham was building, and when the walls became high, Ishmael brought this stone and put it for Abraham, who stood over it and carried on building, while Ishmael was handing him the stones, and both of them were saying, "O our Lord, accept this service from us. Verily, you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing." The Prophet added, Then both of them went on building and going round the Kaaba, saying, "O our Lord, accept this service from us verily. You are the all-hearing, the all-knowing." 2.127. Volume 4, Book 55, number 584, narrated by Ibn Abbas. When Abraham had differences with his wife, because of her jealousy of Hajar, Ishmael's mother, he took Ishmael and his mother and went away. They had a water skin with them containing some water. Ishmael's mother used to drink water from the water skin so that her milk would increase for her child. When Abraham reached Mecca, he made her sit under a tree and afterwards returned home. Ishmael's mother followed him, and when they reached Kedah, she called him from behind, "O Abraham, to whom are you leaving us?" He replied, "I am leaving you to Allah's care." She said, "I am satisfied to be with Allah." She returned to her place and started drinking water from the water skin, and her milk increased for her child. When the water had all been used up, she said to herself, "I'd better go and look so that I may see somebody." She ascended the Safa mountain and looked, hoping to see somebody, but in vain. When she came down to the valley, she ran till she reached the Marwa mountain. She ran to and fro, between the two mountains, many times. She said to herself, "I'd better go and see the state of the child." She went and found it in a state of one on the point of dying. She could not endure to watch it dying and said to herself, "If I go and look, I may find somebody." She went and ascended the Safa mountain and looked for a long while but could not find anybody. Thus she completed 7 rounds of running between Safa and Marwa. Again she said to herself, "I'd better go back and see the state of the child." But suddenly she heard a voice, and she said to that strange voice, "Help us if you can offer any help." Lo, it was Gabriel who had made the voice. Gabriel hit the earth with his heel like this. Ibn Abbas hit the earth with his heel to illustrate it, and so the water gushed out. Ishmael's mother was astonished and started digging. Abu al-Qasim, that is the prophet, said, if she had left the water flow naturally without her intervention, it would have been flowing on the surface of the earth. Ishmael's mother started drinking from the water, and her milk increased for her child. Afterwards some people of the tribe of Juram, while passing through the bottom of the valley, saw some birds, and that astonished them, and they said, "Birds can only be found at a place where there is water." They sent a messenger who searched the place and found the water, and returned to inform them about it. Then they all went to her and said, "O Ishmael's mother, will you allow us to be with you, or dwell with you?" And thus they stayed there. Later on her boy reached the age of puberty and married a lady from them. Then an idea occurred to Abraham which he disclosed to his wife, Sarah. "I want to call on my dependents I left at Mecca." When he went there, he greeted Ishmael's wife and said, "Where is Ishmael?" She replied, "He has gone out hunting." Abraham said to her, "When he comes, tell him to change the threshold of his gate." When he came, she told him the same, whereupon Ishmael said to her, "You are the threshold, so go to your family, that is, you are divorced." Again, Abraham thought of visiting his dependents whom he had left at Mecca, and he told his wife, Sarah, of his intentions. Abraham came to Ishmael's house and asked, "Where is Ishmael?" Ishmael's wife replied, "He has gone out hunting," and added, "Will you stay for some time and have something to eat and drink?" Abraham asked, "What is your food, and what is your drink?" She replied, "Our food is meat, and our drink is water." He said, "O Allah, bless their meals and their drink." Abu al-Qasim, that is prophet, said, "Because of Abraham's invocation, there are blessings in Mecca." Once more Abraham thought of visiting his family he had left at Mecca, so he told his wife, Sarah, of his decision. He went and found Ishmael behind the Zamzam well, mending his arrows. He said, "O Ishmael, your Lord has ordered me to build a house for him." Ishmael said, "Obey the order of your Lord." Abraham said, "Allah has also ordered me that you should help me therein." Ishmael said, "Then I will do." So both of them rose, and Abraham started building the Kaaba, while Ishmael went on handing him the stones, and both of them were saying, "O our Lord, accept this service from us verily, you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. 2.127. When the building became high and the old man, that is Abraham, could no longer lift the stones to such a high position, he stood over the stone of Al-Maqam, and Ishmael carried on handing him the stones, and both of them were saying, "O our Lord, accept this service from us. Verily you are all-hearing, all-knowing." 2.127. Volume 4, Book 55, number 585, narrated by Abu Dar. I said, "O Allah's apostle, which mosque was first built on the surface of the earth?" He said, "Al-Masjid ul-Haram in Mecca." I said, "Which was built next?" He replied, "The Mosque of Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem." I said, "What was the period of construction between the two?" He said, 40 years. He added, "Wherever you may be and the prayer time becomes due, perform the prayer there, for the best thing is to do so, that is to offer the prayers in time." Volume 4, Book 55, number 586, narrated by Anas bin Malik. When the mountain of Uhud came in the sight of Allah's apostle, he said, "This is a mountain that loves us and is loved by us. O Allah, Abraham made Mecca a sanctuary, and I make the area in between these two mountains of Medina a sanctuary." Volume 4, Book 55, number 587, narrated by Aisha, the wife of the Prophet. Allah's apostle said to her, "Don't you see that when your folk built the Kaaba, they did not build it on all the foundations built by Abraham?" I said, "O Allah's apostle, why don't we rebuild it on the foundations of Abraham?" He said, "But for the fact that your folk have recently given up infidelity, I would have done so." Narrated Ibn Umar. Aisha must have heard this from Allah's apostle, for I see that Allah's apostle used not to touch the two corners facing Al-Hijr, only because the house had not been built on the foundations of Abraham's Volume 4, Book 55, number 588, narrated by Abu Humayd as-Sa'idi. The people asked, "O Allah's apostle, how shall we ask Allah to send blessings on you?" Allah's apostle replied, "Say, O Allah, Send your mercy on Muhammad and on his wives and on his offspring, as you sent your mercy on Abraham's family, and send your blessings on Muhammad and on his offspring, as you sent your blessings on Abraham's family, for you are the most praiseworthy, the most glorious. Volume 4, Book 55, number 589, narrated by Abdur Rahman bin Abi Layla Kab bin Ujra, met me and said, "Shall I not give you a present I got from the Prophet?" Abdur Rahman said, "Yes, give it to me." I said, "We asked Allah's apostle, saying, O Allah's apostle, how should one ask Allah to send blessings on you, the members of the family, for Allah has taught us how to salute you in the prayer." He said, "Say, O Allah, send your mercy on Muhammad and on the family of Muhammad, as you sent your mercy on Abraham and on the family of Abraham, for you are the most praiseworthy, the most glorious. O Allah, send your blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, as you sent your blessings on Abraham and on the family of Abraham, for you are the most praiseworthy, the most glorious." Volume 4, Book 55, number 590, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet used to seek refuge with Allah for Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein and say, "Your forefather, that is Abraham, used to seek refuge with Allah for Ishmael and Isaac by reciting the following: O Allah, I seek refuge with your perfect words from every devil and from poisonous pests and from every evil, harmful, envious eye." Volume 4, Book 55, number 591, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, "We are more liable to be in doubt than Abraham when he said, 'My Lord, show me how you give life to the dead.' He, that is Allah, slid, 'Don't you believe then?' He, that is Abraham, said, 'Yes, but I ask, in order to be stronger in faith.' 2.260. And may Allah send his mercy on Lot. He wished to have a powerful support. If I were to stay in prison for such a long time as Joseph did, I would have accepted the offer of freedom without insisting on having my guiltless less declared." Volume 4, Book 55, number 592, narrated by Salama bin al-Aqwa. The Prophet passed by some persons of the tribe of Islam practicing archery, that is the throwing of arrows. Allah's apostle said, "O offspring of Ishmael, practice archery, that is arrow throwing, as your father was a great archer, that is arrow thrower. I am with, on the side of, the son of so-and-so." Hearing that, one of the two teams stopped throwing. Allah's apostle asked them, "Why are you not throwing?" They replied, "O Allah's apostle, how shall we throw when you are with the opposite team?" He said, "Throw, for I am with you all." Volume 4, Book 55, number 593, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Some people asked the Prophet, "Who is the most honorable amongst the people?" He replied, "The most honorable among them is the one who is the most Allah-fearing." They said, "O Allah's Prophet, we do not ask about this." He said, "Then the most honorable person is Joseph, Allah's Prophet, the son of Allah's Prophet, the son of Allah's Prophet, the son of Allah's Khalil." They said, "We do not ask about this." He said, "Then you want to ask me about the Arabs' descent?" They said, "Yes." He said, "Those who were best in the pre-Islamic period are the best in Islam if they comprehend the religious knowledge." Volume 4, Book 55, number 594, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "May Allah forgive Lot. He wanted to have a powerful support." Volume 4, Book 55, number 595, narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet recited, "Hal min mudakir," 54.15, "Is there any that will remember and avoid evil?" Volume 4, Book 55, number 596, narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, "The honorable is the son of the honorable, the son the honorable, that is Joseph, the son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham." Volume 4, Book 55, number 597, narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle was asked, "Who is the most honorable amongst the people?" He replied, "The most Allah-fearing." The people said, "We do not want to ask you about this." He said, "The most honorable person is Joseph, Allah's prophet, the son of Allah's prophet, the son of Allah's prophet, the son of Allah's Khalil." The people said, "We do not want to ask you about this." He said, "Then you want to ask me about the origins of the Arabs? People are of various origins. The best in the pre-Islamic period are the best in Islam, provided they comprehend the religious knowledge." Volume 4, Book 55, number 598, narrated by Aisha, that the Prophet said to her, "Order Abu Bakr to lead the people in prayer." She replied, "Abu Bakr is a soft-hearted person, and when he stands at your place, he will weep. so he will not be able to lead the prayer. The prophet repeated the same order, and she gave the same reply. The narrator Shuba said that the prophet said on the third or fourth time, "You are like the female companions of Joseph. Order Abu Bakr to lead the prayer." Volume 4, Book 55, number 599, narrated by Abu Musa. When the prophet fell ill, he said, "Order Abu Bakr to lead the people in prayer." Aisha said, "Abu Bakr is a soft-hearted person." The prophet gave the same order again, and she again gave the same reply. He again said, "Order Abu Bakr to lead the prayer. You are like the female companions of Joseph." Consequently, Abu Bakr led the people in prayer in the lifetime of the prophet. Volume 4, Book 55, number 600, narrated by Abu Huraira, Allah's apostle said, "O Allah, save Ayyash bin Abi Rabia from the unjust treatment of the infidels. O Allah, save Salama bin Hisham. O Allah, send your punishment on the tribe of Mudar. O Allah, let them suffer from years of drought similar to that inflicted during the lifetime of Joseph." Volume 4, Book 55, number 601, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, "May Allah bestow his mercy on Lot. He wanted to have a powerful support. If I were to stay in prison for a period equal to the stay of Joseph, prison, and then the offer of freedom came to me, then I would have accepted it." See Hadith number 591, Volume 4, Book 55, number 602, narrated by Mazruk. I asked Ruman, Aisha's mother, about the accusation forged against Aisha. She said, "While I was sitting with Aisha, an Ansari woman came to us and said, 'Let Allah condemn such and such person.' I asked her, 'Why do you say so?' She replied, 'For he has spread the slanderous story.' Aisha said, 'What story?' The woman then told her the story. Aisha asked, 'Have Abu Bakr and Allah's apostle heard about it?' She said, 'Yes.' Aisha fell down senseless on hearing that, and when she came to her senses, she got fever and shaking of the body. The prophet came and asked, 'What is wrong with her?' I said, 'She has got fever because of a story which has been rumored.' Aisha got up and said, 'By Allah, even if I took an oath you would not believe me, and if I put forward an excuse you would not excuse me. My example and your example is just like that example of Jacob and his sons. Against that which you assert, it is Allah alone whose help can be sought.' 12.18. The prophet left, and then Allah revealed the verses concerning the matter, and on that Aisha said, 'Thanks to Allah only, and not to anybody else.' Volume 4, Book 55, number 603, narrated by Urwa. I asked Aisha, the wife of the prophet, about the meaning of the following verse. Respite will be granted, until when the apostles give up hope of their people, and thought that they were denied by their people. 12.110. Aisha replied, really their nations did not believe them. I said, by Allah, they were definite that their nations treated them as liars, and it was not a matter of suspecting. Aisha said, O Uriah, that is Urwa, no doubt they were quite sure about it. I said, may the verse be read in such a way as to mean that the apostles thought that Allah did not help them? Aisha said, Allah forbid, impossible. The apostles did not suspect their Lord of such a thing, but this verse is concerned with the apostles' followers who had faith in their Lord and believed in their apostles, and their period of trials was long, and Allah's help was delayed till the apostles gave up hope for the conversion of the disbelievers amongst their nation, and suspected that even their followers were shaken in their belief. Allah's help then came to them. Narrated Ibn Umar, the Prophet said, the Honorable, the son of the Honorable, the son of the Honorable was Joseph, the son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Volume 4, Book 55, number 604, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, while Job was naked taking a bath, a swarm of gold locusts fell on him, and he started collecting them in his garment. His Lord called him, O Job, have I not made you rich enough to need what you see? He said, yes, O Lord, but I cannot dispense with your blessing. Volume 4, Book 55, number 605, narrated by Aisha. The Prophet returned to Khadijah while his heart was beating rapidly. She took him to Waraka bin Nawfal, who was a Christian convert and used to read the Gospels in Arabic. Waraka asked the Prophet, what do you see? When he told him, Waraka said, that is the same angel whom Allah sent to the Prophet, Moses. Should I live till you receive the divine message, I will support you strongly. Volume 4, Book 55, number 606, narrated by Malik bin Sasa. Allah's apostle talked to his companions about his night journey to the heavens. When he reached the fifth heaven, he met Aaron. Gabriel said to the Prophet, This is Aaron. The prophet said, Gabriel greeted and so did I, and he returned the greeting saying, Welcome, O pious brother and pious prophet. Volume 4, Book 55, number 607, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, On the night of my ascension to heaven I saw the prophet Moses, who was a thin person with lank hair, looking like one of the men of the tribe of Shanua, and I saw Jesus, who was of average height with red face as if he had just come out of a bathroom. And I resemble Prophet Abraham more than any of his offspring does. Then I was given 2 cups, one containing milk, and the other wine. Gabriel said, Drink whichever you like. I took the milk and drank it. Gabriel said, You have accepted what is natural, true religion, that is Islam, and if you had taken the wine, your followers would have gone astray. Volume 4, Book 55, number 608, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The prophet said, One should not say that I am better than Jonah, that is Yunus, bin Matta. So he mentioned his father Matta. The prophet mentioned the night of his ascension and said, The prophet Moses was brown, a tall person, as if from the people of the tribe of Shanua. Jesus was a curly-haired man of moderate height. He also mentioned Malik, the gatekeeper of the hell fire, and Ad-Dajjal. Volume 4, Book 55, number 609, narrated by Ibn Abbas. When the prophet came to Medina, he found the Jews fasting on the day of Ashura, that is 10th of Muharram. They used to say, This is a great day on which Allah saved Moses and drowned the folk of Pharaoh. Moses observed the fast on this day as a sign of gratitude to Allah. The prophet said, I am closer to Moses than they, so he observed the fast on that day and ordered the Muslims to fast on it. Volume 4, Book 55, number 610, narrated by Abu Sa'id. The prophet said, People will be struck unconscious on the day of resurrection, and I will be the first to regain consciousness, and behold, there I will see Moses holding one of the pillars of Allah's throne. I will wonder whether he has become conscious before me of he has been exempted because of his unconsciousness at the Tur mountain which he received on the earth. Volume 4, Book 55, number 611, narrated by Abu Huraira. The prophet said, Were it not for Bani Israel, meat would not decay, and were it not for Eve, no woman would ever betray her husband. Volume 4, Book 55, number 612, narrated by Ibn Abbas. That he differed with Al-Hur bin Qais al-Fazari regarding the companion of Moses. Ibn Abbas said that he was Al-Qadir. Meanwhile Ubay bin Ka'b passed by them and Ibn Abbas called him saying, My friend and I have differed regarding Moses' companion whom Moses asked the way to meet. Have you heard Allah's apostle mentioning something about him? He said, Yes, I heard Allah's apostle saying, While Moses was sitting in the company of some Israelites, a man came and asked him, Do you know anyone who is more learned than you? Moses replied, No. So Allah sent the divine inspiration to Moses. Yes, our slave Qadir is more learned than you. Moses asked how to meet him, that is Qadir. So the fish was made as a sign for him, and he was told that when the fish was lost, he should return and there he would meet him. So Moses went on looking for the sign of the fish in the sea. The servant boy of Moses said to him, Do you know that when we were sitting by the side of the rock, I forgot the fish, and it was only Satan who made me forget to tell you about it? Moses said that was what we were seeking after, and both of them returned, following their footmarks and found Qadir, and what happened further to them is mentioned in Allah's book. Volume 4, Book 55, number 613, narrated by Sa'id bin Jubair. I said to Ibn Abbas, Nauf al-Buka claims that Moses, the companion of Al-Qadir, was not Moses, the prophet of the children of Israel, but some other Moses. Ibn Abbas said Allah's enemy, that is Nauf, has told a lie. Ubay bin Ka'b told us that the prophet said, Once Moses stood up and addressed Bani Israel. He was asked who was the most learned man amongst the people. He said, I. Allah admonished him as he did not attribute absolute knowledge to him, Allah. So Allah said to him, Yes, at the junction of the 2 seas there is a slave of mine who is more learned than you. Moses said, O my Lord, how can I meet him? Allah said, Take a fish and put it in a large basket, and you will find him at the place where you will lose the fish. Moses took a fish and put it in a basket and proceeded along with his servant, boy, Yusha bin Nun, till they reached the rock where they laid their heads, that is, lay down. Moses slept, and the fish, moving out of the basket, fell into the sea. It took its way into the sea, straight, as in a tunnel. Allah stopped the flow of water over the fish, and it became like an arch. The prophet pointed out this arch with his hands. They traveled the rest of the night, and the next day Moses said to his boy, servant, "Give us our food, for indeed we have suffered much fatigue in this journey of ours." Moses did not feel tired till he crossed that place which Allah had ordered him to seek after. His servant, said to him, "Do you know that when we were sitting near that rock, I forgot the fish, and none but Satan caused me to forget to tell you about it, and it took its course into the sea in an amazing way?" So there was a path for the fish, and that astonished them. Moses said, "That was what we were seeking after." So, both of them retraced their footsteps till they reached the rock. There they saw a man lying covered with a garment. Moses greeted him, and he replied, saying, "How do people greet each other in your land?" Moses said, "I am Moses." The man asked, "Moses of Bani Israel?" Moses said, "Yes, I have come to you so that you may teach me from those things which Allah has taught you." He said, "O Moses, I have some of the knowledge of Allah which Allah has taught me, and which you do not know, while you have some of the knowledge of Allah which Allah has taught you, and which I do not know." Moses asked, "May I follow you?" He said, "But you will not be able to remain patient with me, for how can you be patient about things which you will not be able to understand?" Moses said, "You will find me, if Allah so will, truly patient, and I will not disobey you in aught." So both of them set out walking along the seashore. A boat passed by them, and they asked the crew of the boat to take them on board. The crew recognized Al-Qadir, and so they took them on board without fare. When they were on board the boat, a sparrow came and stood on the edge of the boat and dipped its beak once or twice into the sea. Al-Qadir said to Moses, "O Moses, my knowledge and your knowledge have not decreased Allah's knowledge except as much as this sparrow has decreased the water of the sea with its beak." Then suddenly, Al-Qadir took an adze and plucked a plank, and Moses did not notice it till he had plucked a plank with the adze. Moses said to him, "What have you done? They took us on board charging us nothing, yet I have intentionally made a hole in their boat so as to drown its passengers. Verily, you have done a dreadful thing." Al-Qadir replied, "Did I not tell you that you would not be able to remain patient with me?" Moses replied, "Do not blame me for what I have forgotten, and do not be hard upon me for my fault." So the first excuse of Moses was that he had forgotten. When they had left the sea, they passed by a boy playing with other boys. Al-Qadir took hold of the boy's head and plucked it with his hand like this. Sufyan, the sub-narrator, pointed with his fingertips as if he was plucking some fruit. Moses said to him, "Have you killed an innocent person who has not killed any person? You have really done a horrible thing." Al-Qadir said, "Did I not tell you that you could not remain patient with me?" Moses said, "If I ask you about anything after this, don't accompany me. You have received an excuse from me." Then both of them went on till they came to some people of a village, and they asked its inhabitant for wood, but they refused to entertain them as guests. Then they saw therein a wall, which was just going to collapse, and Al-Qadir repaired it just by touching it with his hands. Sufyan, the sub-narrator, pointed with his hands, illustrating how Al-Qadir passed his hands over the wall upwards. Moses said, "These are the people whom we have called on, but they neither gave us food nor entertained us as guests, yet you have repaired their wall. If you had wished, you could have taken wages for it." Al-Qadir said, "This is the parting between you and me, and I shall tell you the explanation of those things on which you could not remain patient." The prophet added, "We wish that Moses could have remained patient, by virtue of which Allah might have told us more about their story." Sufyan the sub-narrator said that the prophet said, "May Allah bestow his mercy on Moses. If he had remained patient, we would have been told further about their case." Volume 4, Book 55, number 614, narrated by Abu Huraira. The prophet said, "Al-Qadir was named so because he sat over a barren white land. It turned green with plantation after his sitting over it." Volume 4, Book 55, number 615, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, "It was said to Bani Israel, 'Enter the gate of the town, with humility, prostrating yourselves and saying, repentance.' But they changed the word and entered the town, crawling on their buttocks and saying, 'A wheat grain in the hair.'" Volume 4, Book 55, number 616, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, the prophet, "Moses was a shy person and used to cover his body completely because of his extensive shyness. One of the children of Israel heard him by saying, 'He covers his body in this way only because of some defect in his skin, either leprosy or scrotal hernia, or he has some other defect.' Allah wished to clear Moses of what they said about him. So one day while Moses was in seclusion, he took off his clothes and put them on a stone and started taking a bath. When he had finished the bath, he moved towards his clothes so as to take them, but the stone took his clothes and fled. Moses picked up his stick and ran after the stone, saying, "O stone, give me my garment," till he reached a group of Bani Israel who saw him naked then, and found him the best of what Allah had created, and Allah cleared him of what they had accused him of. The stone stopped there, and Moses took and put his garment on and started hitting the stone with his stick. By Allah, the stone still has some traces of the hitting 3, 4 or 5 marks. This was what Allah refers to in his saying, "O you who believe, be you not like those who annoyed Moses, but Allah proved his innocence of that which they alleged, and he was honorable in Allah's sight." 33.69. Volume 4, Book 55, number 617, narrated by Abdullah. Once the Prophet distributed something among his followers. A man said, "This distribution has not been done with justice, seeking Allah's countenance." I went to the Prophet and told him of that. He became so angry that I saw the signs of anger on his face. Then he said, "May Allah bestow his mercy on Moses, for he was harmed more in a worse manner than this, yet he endured patiently." Volume 4, Book 55, number 618, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. We were with Allah's apostle picking the fruits of the arak trees, and Allah's apostle said, "Pick the black fruit, for it is the best." The companions asked, "Were you a shepherd?" He replied, "There was no prophet who was not a shepherd." Volume 4, Book 55, number 619, narrated by Abu Huraira. The angel of death was sent to Moses. When he came to Moses, Moses slapped him on the eye. The angel returned to his Lord and said, "You have sent me to a slave who does not want to die." Allah said, "Return to him and tell him to put his hand on the back of an ox, and for every hair that will come under it, he will be granted 1 year of life." Moses said, "O Lord, what will happen after that?" Allah replied, "Then death." Moses said, "Let it come now." Moses then requested Allah to let him die close to the sacred land, so much so that he would be at a distance of a stone's throw from it. Abu Huraira added, Allah's apostle said, "If I were there I would show you his grave below the red sand hill on the side of the road." Volume 4, Book 55, number 620, narrated by Abu Huraira. A Muslim and a Jew quarreled. The Muslim, taking an oath, said, "By him who has preferred Muhammad over all people." The Jew said, "By him who has preferred Moses over all people." The Muslim raised his hand and slapped the Jew who came to the Prophet to tell him what had happened between him and the Muslim. The Prophet said, "Don't give me superiority over Moses, for the people will become unconscious on the day of resurrection, and I will be the first to gain consciousness to see Moses standing and holding a side of Allah's throne. I will not know if he has been among those people who have become unconscious, and that he has gained consciousness before me, or he has been amongst those whom Allah has exempted." Volume 4, Book 55, number 621, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle said, Adam and Moses argued with each other. Moses said to Adam, "You are Adam whose mistake expelled you from paradise." Adam said to him, "You are Moses whom Allah selected as his messenger, and as the one to whom he spoke directly. Yet you blame me for a thing which had already been written in my fate before my creation." Allah's apostle said twice, "So Adam overpowered Moses." Volume 4, Book 55, number 622, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet once came to us and said, "All the nations were displayed in front of me, and I saw a large multitude of people covering the horizon." Somebody said, "This is Moses and his followers." Volume 4, Book 55, number 623, narrated by Abu Musa. Allah's apostle said, "Many amongst men reached the level of perfection, but none amongst the women reached this level except Asia, Pharaoh's wife, and Mary, the daughter of Imran. And no doubt the superiority of Aisha to other women is like the superiority of tharid, that is a meat and bread dish, to other meals." Volume 4, Book 55, number 624, narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet said, "None of you should say that I am better than Yunus, that is Jonah." Musaddad added, "Jonah bin Matta." Volume 4, Book 55, number 625, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet said, "No slave of Allah should say that I am better than Yunus bin Matta." So the Prophet mentioned his father's name with his name. Volume 4, Book 55, number 626, narrated by Abu Huraira. Once while a Jew was selling something, he was offered a price that he was not pleased with. So he said, No, by him who gave Moses superiority over all human beings. Hearing him, an Ansari man got up and slapped him on the face and said, "You say, by him who gave Moses superiority over all human beings, although the prophet Muhammad is present amongst us." The Jew went to the prophet and said, "O Abul Qasim, I am under the assurance and contract of security, so what right does so-and-so have to slap me?" The prophet asked the other, "Why have you slapped?" He told him the whole story. The prophet became angry till anger appeared on his face and said, "Don't give superiority to any prophet amongst Allah's prophets, for when the trumpet will be blown, everyone on the earth and in the heavens will become unconscious, except those whom Allah will exempt. The trumpet will be blown for the second time, and I will be the first to be resurrected to see Moses holding Allah's throne. I will not know whether the unconsciousness which Moses received on the day of Tur has been sufficient for him, or has he got up before me, and I do not say that there is anybody who is better than Yunus bin Matta." Volume 4, Book 55, number 627, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "None should say that I am better than Yunus bin Matta." Volume 4, Book 55, number 628, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "The reciting of the Zabur, that is Psalms, was made easy for David. He used to order that his riding animals be saddled and would finish reciting the Zabur before they were saddled. And he would never eat except from the earnings of his manual work,